Yes, it should have been him. He has the vision and strength to carry us to victory, and the wisdom to rule once victory is won. For all his aloof coolness, he alone has the Emperor's soul in his blood. Each of us carries a part of our father within us, whether it is his hunger for battle, his psychic talent, or his determination to succeed. Sanguinius holds it all. It should have been his.
The Primarchs of Warhammer 40,000 stand as towering figures in the lore, each a demigod forged by the Emperor of Mankind to lead his Space Marine legions during the Great Crusade. Genetically engineered for unparalleled strength, intelligence and charisma, they were intended to be the cornerstones of a new galactic order. Yet within the pantheon of exceptional beings, some inevitably shone brighter than others. The question of which Primarch was the weakest is a complex one, and dependent on how weakness is defined. This deep dive will explore the candidates, examining their strengths and the shortcomings to understand what might be considered the least effective of these legendary warriors. Greetings all, I'm your guide the Archivist. Today I will dive into who could be considered the weakest Primarch. Before we begin, please make sure to like the like and subscribe waypoints, or join to become an acolyte down below, so that more people can learn from the archives. It's crucial to acknowledge that weakest is a relative term. Compared to ordinary humans, even the least remarkable Primarch possessed capabilities that bordered on the superhuman. Therefore, the analysis must focus on their performance relative to their brothers, considering factors such as martial prowess, strategic acumen, leadership qualities, and overall contribution to the Imperium's goals. Several names often surface with this discussion, each with arguments both for and against their designation as the weakest. Let's consider some of the primary contenders, carefully examining the details of their actions and legacies. Often overlooked in discussions of weakness, Rogel Dawn, Primarch of the Imperial Fists, presents an interesting case. While undeniably a master of defense and siege warfare, his rigid adherence to protocol and unwavering loyalty, bordering on inflexibility, could be seen as a weakness. He lacked the adaptability and strategic brilliance of some of his brothers. His strength lay in fortification and unwavering defense, making him less effective in offensive campaigns requiring creativity and improvisation. Furthermore, his eventual fate, a slow and agonizing death defending the phalanx from a Black Legion boarding action, arguably lacks the heroic grandeur associated with other Primarchs' demises. While a noble sacrifice demonstrating his dedication, it paints a picture of a warrior overwhelmed rather than triumphant. The details of this final stand suggest a Primarch ultimately unable to overcome a determined foe. Logar, the Primarch of the Word Bearers, is a more commonly cited candidate for the title of weakest. His initial obsession with faith and worship, while seemingly benign, ultimately led to his corruption by the forces of chaos. His lack of martial focus in his early years, prioritizing theological pursuits over military training, undeniably left him less skilled in combat compared to many of his brothers. Even after embracing chaos, Logar's strength lay in manipulation and religious fervor, rather than direct confrontation. He was the architect of the Horus Heresy, a pivotal and devastating event, but his role was that of a puppeteer, not a frontline warrior. The details of his transformation highlight a fundamental flaw, a susceptibility to outside influence and a reliance on faith over reason. This susceptibility ultimately made him a pawn of the great game of chaos, arguably a position of weakness. The enigmatic Primarch of the Alpha Legion presents a unique challenge to this analysis. Twin Primarchs Alpharius and Omegan specialized in subterfuge, infiltration, and unconventional warfare. Their methods, while effective in sowing discord and disrupting enemy plans, often lack the decisive impact of a more direct military campaign. Their long-term goals and motivations remain shrouded in mystery, with some suggesting they were actually attempting to undermine chaos from within. However, their actions undeniably contributed to the chaos and instability of the Imperium, regardless of their true intentions. The details surrounding their campaigns are often contradictory and unreliable, making it difficult to assess their true effectiveness. Furthermore, Alfaris' death at the hands of Rogal Dawn, regardless of the circumstances, could be interpreted as a sign of vulnerability, especially considering the Alpha Legion's supposed mastery of deception and strategic planning. The Primarch of the Iron Warriors, often overlooked, is a strong contender for the title. While a brilliant siege master and military engineer, Herabo was plagued with a deep-seated insecurity and a lack of recognition. His legion was often tasked with the most brutal and thankless assignments, grinding down enemy defences while other legions received glory. This perceived lack of appreciation fostered a resentment that ultimately led him to betray the Imperium. While his strategic mind was formidable, his inability to inspire loyalty and foster camaraderie within his legion proved to be a critical weakness. The details of his character reveal a man burdened by bitterness and yearning for validation, leading him down a path of destruction and ultimately diminishing his effectiveness as a leader. His obsession with fortifications, while valuable, was less versatile than the strategic flexibility of others. While each of these Primarchs possessed flaws and shortcomings, Logar arguably presents the strongest case for being the weakest. His early focus on religion over military matters left him vulnerable and ill-prepared for the realities of the Great Crusade. His susceptibility to outside influence led to his corruption by chaos, a betrayal that has catastrophic consequences for the Imperium. While he played a critical role in the Horus Heresy, his strength lay in manipulation and religious fervour, not in direct military leadership. Furthermore, Logar's actions fundamentally undermine the Emperor's vision for a rational, secular Imperium. He prioritised faith over reason, opening the door for the insidious influence of the Chaos Gods. This strategic blunder, arguably the greatest in the history of the Imperium, makes him a prime candidate for the title of weakest Primarch. The details of his transformation and the subsequent Horus Heresy speak volumes about the devastating consequences of his weakness. He essentially weaponized belief and turned it against his own father and the Imperium. And all of this is overlooking Logar's obvious lack of martial and physical prowess. Ultimately, determining the weakest Primarch is a subjective exercise. Each Primarch possessed strengths and weaknesses that contributed to the complex tapestry of the Horus Heresy and the ongoing struggles of the Imperium. However, when considering the long-term impact of their actions and their overall contribution to the Emperor's goals, Logar's betrayal and the subsequent chaos it unleashed solidifies his position as arguably the least effective, and in many ways the weakest of the Primarchs. His weakness was not necessarily physical or martial, but a fundamental flaw in his character that made him susceptible to corruption and ultimately led to the near destruction of the Imperium. The details of his story serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked faith and the importance of critical thinking in the face of overwhelming power. And so I have now covered the content for this video. If there's anything that has been missed, please share them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this content, please like the like and subscribe waypoints, or join to become an acolyte down below, so that more people can learn from the archives. In the grim dark of the far future, there is only war.